Let's start with the renal function tests. So this you can see over here, this is just a renal system anatomy and physiology. This is the left kidney with section. This is the pelvis, renal arteries, veins. This will be the bladder and ureters. So this is where actually the filtration happens inside the body. So what are the functions of kidney that we have to understand? First is maintenance of homeostasis. Basically it means regulation of water, electrolyte and acid-base balance inside the body. And that includes excretion of metabolic waste products like urea, creatine, uric acid, sulfate, phosphate. Also retention of the substances vital to the body. Actually when first time filtration happens, almost 99% content which is soluble in the fluid goes out. So most of the content comes back after in the reabsorption process. So that is where retention of the important substances happen, and that includes glucose, amino acid, etc. And there are some hormonal functions as well. It produces some hormones like erythropoietin. It's a peptide hormone and it stimulates the hemoglobin synthesis and formation of the erythrocytes, while another is calcitriol activated vitamin D, or in other words 1,25 dihydroxycholecalciferol, which regulates the calcium absorption from the gut. Also there is a renin. It's a proteolytic enzyme which helps in formation of angiotensin 2, and that in turn leads to the aldosterone production. So these are the hormones which are involved in the regulation of electrolyte balance. So now how does this formation of urine happens, that we just are going to have an overview about. The functional unit is nephron, and almost around 1 to 1.2 million nephrons are present in each kidney. And what nephron means is initial Bowman's capsule where capillaries merge and there is a thin layer. Then there is a proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule and collecting tube or tubule. So in a nutshell, if you are going to see or if you know that blood supply to kidneys is very large, almost 1200 ml blood continuously passes through kidney every minute. That's a very large quantity because total volume inside body for a healthy person is around 4 to 5 liters. So every minute 1/5 portion of blood is passing through kidney. So you can think of it as a very high capacity filters. And out of that 120 to 125 ml is filtered per minute. Basically we call it as a GFR. So that tells us about the filtration capacity or capacity of a kidney to remove the bad components from the blood. So normal GFR is around 120 to 125 ml per minute, and if you calculate this, that is around 175 to 180 liters per day. That is filtration part only. Remember this is just a filtration part. So 4 to 5 liters of blood continuously again and again gets filtered, and that value is around 175 to 180 liters per day. So same 4 to 5 liters of blood gets filtered again and again. So if you are going to count it, how much amount of blood is getting filtered, that is almost around 175 to 180 from Bowman's capsule. Out of this, only maximum for a healthy person is 1.5 to 2 liters is excreted as a urine. So thing is that almost 175 to 180 liter that is getting filtered, only 1% out of it per day is getting excreted as a urine. So almost 99% of whatever the filtration is happening is getting reabsorbed. So there are multiple filters. One is filtering out everything, then another filter takes back everything, and only waste product is getting out. So there are two pathways. One is filtration, two-step, glomerular filtration and tubular reabsorption, which is going to take back everything which is important. So this process, filtration process, is basically a passive process. Depends on the arterial pressure. So whatever the unbound constituents are there of plasma is going to be passed out. Basically anything that has a molecular weight less than 70,000 will pass out. So almost all plasma is getting filtered out. Second is tubular reabsorption. Here renal tubules that includes proximal, distal as well as collecting tubules. What they do is whatever the content out of the plasma is, they will retain almost everything back. Water, soluble constituents, everything will be reabsorbed back and given back to the blood. And this process can be either passive or active depending on the which constituents we have to take back. And here comes the understanding of the renal threshold substances. Here some substance, if you just take an example of glucose, their excretion into the urine is dependent on their concentration. What we considered as a renal threshold substance means if their concentration is below something particular value or normal concentration is there, they will be completely reabsorbed. They will not get out into the urine. But at a particular point, if the concentration is beyond that point, they will start coming out into the urine or excreted into the urine. If you take example of glucose, the value is 180 milligram per deciliter. Remember here, renal threshold is always a plasma concentration, not the urine concentration or any other concentration. Means their concentration in plasma, if it is beyond the one particular value, for example, glucose is beyond 180 milligram per dl, then it will start appearing into the urine. Kidneys will not be able to reabsorb the glucose that is beyond 180 milligram per dl into the reabsorption process, and that will come out into the urine. For ketone bodies, it is around 3 milligram per deciliter. For calcium, it is around 10 milligram per deciliter. For bicarbonate, it is 30 milliequivalent per liter. So here comes the another concept based on the renal threshold is the tubular maximum. That says a maximum capacity of a kidneys to absorb a particular substance. What it does mean that if you have a one particular value threshold, what will happen per minute, that substance will pass more from the kidney. Okay, so that substance is going to pass because the total concentration is higher into the blood. That blood per minute will pass more amount of that substance into the filtration process, and once that process is beyond some particular value, then it appears into the urine. So for glucose, it is around 350 milligram per minute, and that coincides with the renal threshold of glucose, that is 180 milligram per deciliter. So for ketone bodies, it will be relative like this value only. So now coming to the actual renal function test and kidney function test. So we are going to divide them into the total 4 groups. One is glomerular function test, and that includes various clearance tests like inulin, creatinine, urea. Then comes the tubular function tests, which includes urine concentration or dilution test and urine acidification test. Third is directly analysis of the blood or serum, where we utilize blood urea or serum creatinine, protein and electrolytes. And fourth is urine examination. Here, whatever it is coming out of the kidney, that part we are going to examine, which includes volume of the urine, pH of the urine, what is the specific gravity, osmolality, and presence of some abnormal constituents which normally are not present into the urine, like proteins, blood, ketone bodies or glucose. So now starting with the clearance tests. Now again, it's a very difficult term. Let's understand it easily. By definition, what is clearance? It is the volume of plasma that would be completely cleared of a substance per minute. So if you are going to just analyze it, clearance of a substance means a particular volume of plasma that contains specific amount of that substance. That substance or that amount will be completely cleared by the kidney per minute. So we are utilizing a per unit time and we are using a per unit substance. So if I have a 1 gram of creatinine in my blood, then how much milliliter of plasma will require per minute by kidney to be completely clearing that 1 gram of creatinine. So clearance is always in ml, means it basically is filtration process that we are talking about, how much ml per minute blood is getting filtered out through kidney. Only what we are adding is we are adding one particular substance that is to be completely removed from that particular amount of blood. So for that, there is a simple equation that includes this clearance C is equal to U into V upon P, where U is the concentration of substance inside the urine, whatever the volume of urine in ml per minute, and concentration of that substance which is present into the plasma. Okay, and if you are going to decide out of this clearance test, what you can derive is that the maximum rate, if a particular substance has to be cleared off from that plasma at a maximum rate, that will coincide with the GFR. What was GFR actually? It is the filtration rate, means how much amount of ml of plasma is getting cleared by the glomeruli or by kidney. So if particular substance is getting cleared completely, that rate is the maximum rate, and that will directly coincide with the GFR. If we want to measure GFR of a kidney, which can give us idea about the how filtration process is going on by the kidney, then we can measure the clearance of a particular substance. Okay, so for that we have to take a compound which is freely filtered by the glomeruli. There is no hindrance, means their molecular weight is low and it doesn't get hindered or doesn't have problems in passing through the glomeruli. Plus, because there is a very high capacity of reabsorption going on inside the kidney, means almost 99% content is getting reabsorbed. This compound should not be reabsorbed, otherwise we will not get the actual idea, because once it is getting reabsorbed, it will be present into the blood, and that will give us the opposite idea. It will be a denominator. Plasma concentration is the denominator in the equation, so it will give us a false value. So that compound should not be reabsorbed, and there should not be any extra secretion again afterwards from the tubules as well. So once it is passing through the glomeruli, it should completely go out. There is no way they should again come back. There should not be any way it should go again outside. So for this, there are some various compounds. One is inulin. It's a plant carbohydrate and which is a fructose polysaccharide. One is 51 chromium PDTA. Okay, see that these are the very ideal compounds that we can utilize to find out the actual GFR. But there is a problem. Why we do not use them? Because these are to be ingested, and that can lead to the patient compliance problems. So instead, what we utilize is creatinine. What is creatinine? It's an excretory product. Excretion is constant and it is not influenced by the body metabolism or dietary factors. There is no change in the creatinine value or there is excretion problem. And moreover, the creatinine is completely filtered and very marginally. Does mean that only 1% maximum is secreted by the tubules. So it's a ideal component which is indigenously generated. We do not have to take it from outside. So there is no patient compliance problem. All the problem is going to be is collection and blood plasma estimation. So what creatinine clearance means is ml of plasma or volume of plasma that would be completely cleared of creatinine per minute. So traditionally what we do is we take 24-hour urine correction, and during that period we measure the plasma concentration as well, and we can utilize the same equation. So urine is the urine concentration of creatinine, output in ml per minute. So we are collecting 24-hour urine, we can divide it by the 24 into 60, 24 hours 60 into the minute, and the same amount at the same time concentration of urine inside the plasma. We can utilize the modified procedure as well. Collect the urine for 1 hour, don't collect longer period, or you can collect for 2 hours or 3 hours or 6 hours depending whatever the period you specify. Decide or measure the volume of the urine, and during that period creatinine content in the plasma and urine are estimated, and whatever the amount we have decided, depending on that we can utilize the value. Instead of per ml per minute we have to taken, if we have taken 1 hour, here only 1 will be coming, 1 into 60. So we can decide the value of GFR as well. So for reference, creatinine clearance is around 120 to 145 ml per minute for a normal healthy person, and that completely coincides with the actual GFR. And serum creatinine normal ranges are around 0.7 to 1.4. For female it is 0.6 to 1.3, and for children is 0.5 to 1.2 milligram per deciliter. So what is the diagnostic importance? If there is a decrease in the creatinine clearance value which is less than 75% of the normal, it's a very sensitive indicator of the decreased GFR, and that says that there is a renal damage, and that helps us in the early detection of the impairment of kidney function. Basically what we call it as a chronic CRF or chronic renal failure or chronic kidney disease. And based on that we can grade the grading of the chronic kidney disease. Your GFR value is more than 90 is there based on clearance test, then there is a minimal damage or there is a normal GFR. If it is 60 to 89, then there is a mild damage. If 30 to 59 is there, then there is a GFR is very low. 15 to 29, your GFR is considered very low, and less than 15, if GFR is recorded, that it means there is a kidney failure, and accordingly your grade is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So this helps us in the prognostic value as well as diagnostic value of the CKD as well. Next is the creatinine coefficient, and that is the urinary creatinine value, which is expressed in milligram per kilogram of body weight, and this is elevated in the muscular dystrophy where your muscle wasting is more, means your creatinine is getting out more, and that is present inside the urine. Normally it is 20 to 28 milligram per kilogram for males. Kg here is the body weight, okay, and milligram is the value of creatinine. For females, because their body mass is little bit lower, the value is around 15 to 21. Now coming to the urea clearance stage. Now urea is a end product of protein metabolism, and the problem is that it is partially reabsorbed by the renal tubules. So the actual value is always less than GFR, and protein content influence is very high. If you have taken very high content or high amount of protein, your urea clearance will be higher compared to the regular. So compared to the creatinine, it is not that much sensitive. Okay. So if we have to identify it is the volume of plasma that would be completely cleared of the urea per minute. That is CM, maximum urea clearance, is U into V upon P. So now the thing is, for urea, output of urine should be more than 2 ml per minute, then it is considered as a maximum urea clearance. Means normal value is around 75. That is very less compared to creatinine. But if your output of urine due to any kind of problem, maybe difficulty with the urine excretion, or there is a problem with or injury, if your volume of urine is less than 2 ml per minute, then the value goes very down for the urea, that is 54 ml per minute, and it's a different formula. Standard clearance is equal to U into under root of volume upon P. So this is a little bit difficult formula. So almost always, that's why we now normally do not do urea clearance test. We always opt for the creatinine clearance if in case there is a need. Okay. What is the diagnostic importance? Clearance value less than 75% of normal, it directly indicates there is a renal damage. And urea level, blood urea, will increase when your clearance value is falling below 50% of the normal. So what are the causes for increased blood urea? Pre-renal, renal. Pre-renal condition includes dehydration, intestinal obstruction, diabetic coma, fever, severe vomiting, diarrhea, severe burns, severe infections like that. Renal disease means inside the kidney, glomerulonephritis, malignant hypertension, nephrosis or chronic pyelonephritis. Post-renal causes include stones, enlarged prostate and bladder tumors. Or if some medications are going more, that are ACE inhibitors, aminoglycoside, acetaminophen, and diuretics. These are all causes for the increased blood urea, which ultimately means that there is a lower down of the urea excretion. Decreased blood urea is seen in late pregnancy, starvation, hepatic failure, or diet that is deficient in the proteins. And that leads to one particular term that is called as azotemia, that is increase in the blood levels of NPN, and that includes non-protein nitrogenous substances like creatinine, urea, and uric acid, and that is considered as a azotemia. If this condition is there, it is considered as a hallmark of the kidney failure. That leads to the uremic syndrome. It's a terminal manifestation of a renal failure. Basically provide the various toxin. What happens is that there is an increased urea due to carbamylation of proteins, increased uric acid due to uremic pericarditis, excess polyols will lead to peripheral neuropathy, and there is a beta 2 microglobulin presence due to renal amyloidosis. Now coming to the urine concentration tests. What it assesses is renal tubular function. Till now what we have done is the filtration tests. Now this will assess the tubular reabsorption tests. Test is simple. What we can do is we can measure the specific gravity of the urine, and which is the depending on the concentration of the solutes which are present into the urine. As we have discussed that the urine is a very concentrated component. Everything is filtered out, almost everything is being reabsorbed back. Only very waste products are getting out. So if we can measure those waste product concentration through specific gravity, it will help capacity of kidney to concentrate the urine. Okay, normally 1.020 specific gravity in the early morning is considered as a normal. We can measure the osmolality. For normal individual it is around 500 to 1200 milliosmoles per kg, and plasma osmolality is around 300 milliosmoles per kg, and ratio between urine and plasma is around 2 to 4. If this is getting lowered down, means the concentration capacity is not proper. If urine having osmolality of 800 milliosmol per kg, that is going to be at a specific gravity of 1.020. So this is going to help us assess the tubular function. Now coming to the analysis of the bloodstream direct measurement. Comparatively less sensitive than the actual clearance test. But again, even if we are talking about direct indigenous calculation of clearance test, it still requires collection of the urine from the patient, and still it's not a good compliance for patient many a times. So instead that we can directly just take a sample of the blood from the patient and measure the various components. Here normally creatinine is a better indicator compared to the urea, but combined together urea and creatinine, they can give us a very good idea about the condition of the patient, and beyond that if there is a problem we can go for the clearance tests. So next is urine examination itself. It can give us the idea about the how, what can be the presumptive condition may be with the urine. If we assess the urine itself, we can measure the volume of urine, pH, specific gravity, osmolality, and find out the constituents through microscopy. Now coming to the word proteinuria, that can be various types. What proteinuria means is the presence of protein inside the urine. Normally protein is very less excreted out, but if it is coming out more, then it is a condition called as proteinuria. That can be glomerular proteinuria. So glomeruli normally is not permeable to a molecular weight more than around 69 to 70,000 kilodalton. So that's why your plasma proteins starting with the albumin are absent into the urine. If your glomeruli are damaged, then plasma proteins will start appearing into the urine. albumin will pass, and that condition is called as albuminuria, and it is always considered as a pathological condition. So condition like nephrosis, where large quantities of albumin is lost, acute nephritis, sternus exercise and pregnancy, here small quantities are excreted from the body. Then comes microalbuminuria. It's a minimal albuminuria or polyalbuminuria. Small amount of albumin, 30 to 300 milligram per day, is continuously excreted through the urine. If you already have overt proteinuria, you should not go for the microalbuminuria. If you find that there are some extracts of albumin present, but still it is not easily quantifiable, then you should go for the tests for microalbuminuria. We can go for the dipstick and other methods. What it says is that there is a nephropathy in the patient, and mostly this microalbuminuria is present in patients of diabetes mellitus and hypertension. So that's why all diabetics as well as hypertension should screen for the microalbuminuria every year. And normally it is expressed as the albumin creatinine ratio. Normal ratio for males is less than 23 milligram per gram of creatinine, and for females is 32 milligram per gram of creatinine. Then there is a overflow proteinuria. If small molecular weight proteins are increased into the blood, they will start overflowing into the urine like hemoglobin, and they will pass through the normal glomeruli, and so that they can appear into the urine. That condition is called as hemoglobinuria. Then tubular proteinuria, your nephron functionality is reduced, so the GFR gets decreased. So what happens is, whatever the nephrons which are remaining, they are going to overwork, and that leads to the reabsorption mechanism being impaired. So low molecular weight proteins will start appearing into the urine like retinol binding protein and alpha-1 microglobulin. Then there is a nephron loss proteinuria, normally seen in the CKD, because functional nephrons itself are less. So what happens is that there is a glomerular filtration is going to be increased by other nephrons, and that leads to the filtered proteins being effaced. So this completes our discussion